Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Ellen Nyland. We'll be discussing her wonderful book, Life is Great, Even When It Sucks. What makes people do what they do? Available for purchase through Amazon, barnesandnoble.com. But guys, listen, if you want to gather everything that Ellen has to offer, do yourself a favor and head directly to her personal site, lifeisgreatevenwhenitsucks.com. There you'll find more information on Ellen herself, more information on this fantastic narrative, as well as find hyperlinks set up to take you to the purchasing page. So one more time, that's lifeisgreatevenwhenitsucks.com. And I will say that Ellen was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best publishers in the business, Diamond Media Press Publishing. So if you have a book that you'd like moved, give yourself the best gift you could possibly give and contact Diamond Media. You can find out more information on them at diamondmediapressco.com. And listen, Ellen is the expert, okay? She's written the book. She's pulling from her experience. She's done the research, and she is going to be able to articulate everything much better than I ever could. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Ellen, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you so much for being a guest with us today. How are you?
Today, I'm really good. And I go by day.
Mm-hmm.
And to give myself a moment here, and I like to tell a little bit more about myself, that you can understand where I'm coming from.
Yes, please.
Yeah, let me regroup here for a moment, and up front, I will apologize if I sound sometimes a little rambling, because I have a chemo brain. And for people who don't know what it is, when you get chemotherapy for cancer, it affects your brain. So sometimes I really have to think and slow down before I can answer any questions.
Mm-hmm.
To go back on my background a little bit, as long as I remember, I'm interested in finding the answer of why do people things they do. I just find people fascinating. And on top of that, I have a dairy farm. Not grew up on a dairy farm, but I ended up marrying a farmer. I'm very happy with that. It was my life choice. And we lived with 4 generations on one farm. So when I would walk with my car keys, it would go, where have you been, where are you going, who did you talk to, and when are you back? Standard questions. So living in close quarters, you really start to find the importance of communication, setting boundaries. This is okay, and this is not okay. So that is basically the base. Then I came back with a lot of health issues. Some very severe, very difficult, life-threatening for myself and 2 of my kids. One was epileptic, and the other one, the pregnancy was just a disaster from I would almost say from day one, but he made it.
Wow.
With all that going on, so, I skipped now a couple of years, then all of a sudden I had blackouts, very severe, some 7 a day. Couldn't walk normally, had a walker, was in bed. They did not brain surgery, but a decompression surgery in the back of the neck, so that fixed that. And then I ended up with breast cancer in 2017. what has metastasized to the bone. The best I can say is I'm stable. That's where I am right now. And in all that, I learned that life is great, even when it sucks, because it's your attitude towards life that creates your outlook on life. So even for myself, the title is very, very, I'm looking here at the Dutch word. You guys don't get it. It's very fitting for my life, even now. So I even enjoy every day. With pain and not be able to do a lot of things I would love to do, I still find that the title is fitting.
My goodness, that now takes things to a completely different level. Because that title at first, which I was just loving to say it because it's such a fun title, right, to think about. But now when we're putting the backstory behind it, wow. I mean, now it carries so much weight. Ellen, follow-up question to that. I know the book is comprised of a 5-point program. Well, talk to us a little bit, maybe not about the 5 points just yet. We'll get into that in more detail. But what inspired you? First and foremost, did you create the 5-point program yourself? Was this something that derived from maybe something else that you had found and researched? Talk to us a little bit more about the origin stories with that 5-point program, please.
If somebody tells you, I created it, often I go, really? Because nothing just comes falling out of the sky. You have read certain things. You have heard certain things. You have seen certain things. And that's how you put it together. So for example, I read a book from Patrick Lencioni. And he has 5 things. And I'm going, oh, yeah, that's kind of neat. Yeah, I can see that. So you take that, but then you also, what I did, I was broaden it. I took the 5 points and made it totally my own. Mm-hmm. You know, when you look in fashion, nothing is new. Now they are back to the 70s. It has a new spin, but it has the same colors, and all that.
Absolutely.
So, and that's sort of what a lot of books are. So mine has some stuff maybe based on what people told me, but made it totally my own. And I integrated a lot of things that others maybe take as a whole book. I mean, you can write a whole book on trust. You can. I didn't do it, but you could. And people have done it. Mm-hmm. But it is what I tried to do was totally incline connecting all the little dots. Because, of course, a 5-point system is not, that's the first step. But where do you learn the 5 steps? Where do you learn that? And it is very simple. You look at your parents. Because that's where you learn. That's what you learned from your parents. You learned how to trust. And they never tell you this, but it's by their actions, by their interactions, by the way they talked, how children perceive it. Because the most learning you do is between 0 and 7 years old. Then you are already imprinted. Mm-hmm. And by that, you take that with the rest of your life. But if there is an insecurity on one of the 5, you take that with you your whole life if you don't watch it. and now I'm not blaming parents, don't get me wrong, because parents do, on average, the best they know how, with whatever they have, on everywhere on the planet. And because they learned from their parents and their parents from their parents, insecurity is in there. For some people, it's on all 5 points. So then it's very hard to find that beautiful toolbox where you're born with, because everybody is born with what I call the toolbox, and every toolbox is different, but it's so magnificent. And if you only could access that toolbox all the time, your life would be perfect. But because when you don't trust or have insecurities on trust, it's very hard to commit yourself to something,
right,
or being accountable for something, or know what the results will be. And how do you deal with conflict? So it's all those 5 things that is basically your base. And I can guarantee you somewhere on there is an insecurity. I had to fight for mine, and I have seen it in all kinds of people who have fought the urge on there is something wrong here, and I don't know what, but it's their own insecurity.
You want to gather all the information that Ellen has put together, you know where you have to go. I said it before, I'm going to say it again. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Life is Great Even When It Sucks.com are the places you have to go. Life is Great Even When It Sucks. What Makes People Do What They Do is the title you have to pick up. And Ellen Nyland is the author you have to thank for bringing it to your table. Ellen, since we have you here on the network with us, please go in a little more intricately to those particular points.
Here is a summary on trust. Trust is an emotion, not a fact. Trust has 2 main components, honesty and truth. Honesty comes from a personal, emotional point of view. Truth is measurable. It is or it's not. Parents, caregiver are the first one to teach about trust. Trust issues are often created based on how others treated you when you were young or by major events later in life. Trusting yourself starts by being honest with yourself. Being trustworthy starts with doing what you say you will do, matching your words with your actions. And also there are 3 layers of trust. Trust in self is what everything starts with. Self-esteem is the foundation for the way you view life. Trust in others is more complicated. Now you not only deal with your own trust insecurities, but also with those of others. Trust in society is challenged by the clouded ways and hidden trust of truth of how the world works these days. That's on trust. On conflict. Because, not that I say I love conflict, but conflict is the one that makes you think. And that's why I picked conflict. Conflict can make you grow and push you out of your comfort zone. And that can be healthy if you let it. Conflict is inevitable, and the mindset you choose will determine on how you deal with the causes of conflict. And of course, conflict is caused by personal stress, taking everything personal, making judgments, making assumptions. Oh, I love that one, assumptions. And we all do it. Betraying yourself, that is something we really are never taught. And it's one of the most important things. Don't betray yourself. Personal responsibilities, but also family and societal culture. And in the book, there is a whole chapter on both, because it has a huge impact on our lives, consciously and subconsciously. And also, conflict is misinterpreted communication. And I think the new trend these days is having a conversation over text messages and how wrong that can go.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's huge. We have different coping mechanisms. And some people will avoid the issue or dismiss the issue. I put my head in the sand and it's not there. No. Or, nope, I don't want to talk about it, so we are closed off. Or we have people who acting like a victim or a martyr. Always keep in mind that betraying yourself creates conflict within yourself and therefore a conflict with others. And to avoid all that, ask powerful questions and be curious. If you don't know anything, it's not a big deal. Just ask. And if you truly ask something you don't understand or want to know more of, or that you go, how is that works? You ask. And if you ask with the right intention, the receiver will understand it and will give you a good, solid answer on your question. And if I may, I can give you a great story on it. I was 14, and I was singing in the choir, and I wanted to know from the priest if it was not difficult for a priest not to have sex. And he looked at me and he saw that my question was not necessarily his personal, but as a priest,
right,
as a church figure. I don't forget his answer, but I only know that his answer was very, very sincere. And that's all I wanted. And he knew I wasn't asking out of, ha, 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 behind laughing, giggling.
right.
But he understood that I truly wanted to know this as a overall how the world works. And he gave me a wonderful answer, and I never forget that. Even if somebody else would have, well, my sister was horrified because she heard the question. But I'm going, no, I need to ask somebody who knows. So there you go.
Ellen, listen, there's so much of what you're saying makes sense. And one thing that I just want to quickly touch up on and offer reflection as we close out here. You mentioned about conflict and how conflict is not always negative, right? There could be a lot of positive that comes out of a conflict. And guys, listen, what I'm gathering from a lot of what she's saying is it really boils down to a perception that you choose to take. Now, one of the old adages is there's silver linings, right? The silver lining in everything. Even through conflict, there's a silver lining. It comes down to perception, and conflict can actually end up being very, very beneficial and very positive. I love what you're saying here, Ellen. And listen, you know what I love even more? Is, guys, we're at the end of the interview now, okay? And we've discussed so much information today, and yet we've barely scratched the surface somehow. I mean, we've covered a couple of points, but the book is littered with it. Listen, you know what you have to do. I can go on and on. The topic of conversation is that profound. I'm that much engulfed in it. And I could just sit here and talk to Ellen for hours, okay? I'm just having that much fun. We're not going to do that. I'm going to say it again. You know where you have to go. You have to gather all the information. This is a wonderful journey, a wonderful book to have on your shelves, but an even better gift for you to get for someone else. So once again, here on the line with Ellen Nyland, we just finished discussing her wonderful book, Life is Great Even When It Sucks. Available for purchase through Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, or directly through her personal site, lifeisgreatevenwhenitsucks.com. Ellen, this has been truly a pleasure. I really do mean that. Such an honor. Thank you again for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction.
It was totally my pleasure.